I think it's about time we just let's listen. Let's just move on into the next track here. Listening to more Steve Hackett. You already know what time it is. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you stopping on by. But you know what you're here for. You're not here for me. No, 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 no. You're listening here, and you're sitting there to listen to some more Voyage of the Acolyte. So let's move on into the next track, the final track actually on this specific side of the album, which is going to be the Hermit. Uh, ending it out in a lonely place, perhaps. Or maybe he's not in a lonely place. Maybe he just wants to be left alone. Let's go ahead and listen to the track. We'll talk about it after. Here we go. Nice little flute. I like when these strings come in. I like the switch in strings right there. That is a really nice change. Okay. That was a nice kind of solitary come down closure for the first side of the album after we just went through the previous epic tracks and this big adventure. This was a nice kind of isolated way to bring us back down, to turn the lights back on right after this, have a little bit of an intermission, and then we'll get back into the show shortly. First of all, so we do have Hackett himself singing on this particular track, which I don't know a ton about Hackett's singing ability, so I'm only speaking upon the very limited knowledge that I know. I like how he sang in this particular track. He didn't push his voice to an uncomfortable place. It sounded like it didn't sound like he was trying to be something he was not or perform something that he could not. He stayed within a certain range that he felt comfortable with, and he sounded good in there. He was in there just to get his message across in a different way than purely through his guitar or any of the other instruments he's playing. And I like that. I like that attempt, and I think that here it succeeds because he's not trying to be something or try something that maybe he just can't do. And I mean, if he couldn't, I'm sure he would have just had someone else fill in. But I like the personal touch that he wants to be directly involved in the actual singing part of that. So I think it sounded good. Of course, the guitar does sounds good. Love the flute, duh. Especially that little come up, that like that little. There's probably a word for that, like a proper word besides me going. But that little fluttery come up there, just like butterfly wings coming off of the blossom, that's really nice. The cello here, which is being played by Nigel Warren Green, lovely addition because it's just using those kind of sparingly moments to kind of bring up the energy a little bit, just add a little bit of this kind of chamber-esque nuance to it, and then it moves back down. Then you have, of course, the flute, like I mentioned before, and you also kind of have the oboe played in here by Robin Miller. I mean, it's just a very lovely, isolated, kind of solitary track to bring us down before we move into the next side of the album. Let's look at the lyrics on this one. The mantle of attainment weighs heavy on his shoulders. Guided by a lantern flickering, he grows older. A refuge found in exile, he shuffles on in blindness. You'll take his hand, he'll lose himself, bewildered by your kindness. So you can kind of get a strong imagery here of this hermit, perhaps always being alone because they're hermit, and maybe not having a lot of contact with people. And then you take his hand, and he'll lose himself, bewildered by your kindness. I like that surprise, like, oh, someone's actually paying attention to me, and not only just paying attention, but touching me in an intimate way, taking my hand. Enshrouded by darkness, a figure slowly forms. Through many years of banishment, no shelter from the storm. To find this slave of solitude, you'll know him by his star. Then take his hand, he'll lose himself, knowing who you are. It's kind of a very nice message in there. Now, of course, I don't know who exactly it's about or anything like that, but I do like that idea of, someone who's perhaps outcast by society or looked down upon, or maybe they're purposely separating themselves, but someone there to take the kindness, to take the step, and to show them that kindness, and to actually touch their hand. You know what it actually makes me think of? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure during the time, like, I think it was 80s, maybe? I don't know. I'm 89, so I don't know where. My late 80s, early 90s, I'm not too sure on history all the time. But wasn't it like 80s or early 90s when Princess Diana, there was that famous photograph of her actually touching the gentleman that had AIDS at the time when AIDS was believed to have been, like, I believe a little more contagious or transferred by just touching and stuff like that. I believe so, if I'm remembering correctly. And these lyrics remind me of that picture and the kindness shown, the sympathy, the empathy, and the motive to do that. I think that's really cool. I think it's nice. And that's what it's reminding me of. Anyways, great track. Let me know what you guys thought of it in the comments below. You can follow me over on Twitter. You can support the channel on Patreon. Thank you so much for being here. Crap my neck. Have a great day, guys. I will see you later. Bye.